How's everybody doing today? My name is Chef Robert Wood, but most people call me Robbie. Today we're going to be talking about simple Southern food. I'm originally from Savannah, Georgia, and I've grown up in the restaurant business. Started chopping lettuce and washing dishes when I was 13. Moved up, became a sous chef when I was 19, and took over my first kitchen and became an executive chef at the age of 23. But really my journey through food started much younger than that. My grandmother's brothers and sisters would bring us corn and tomatoes, and we would cream the corn and can the tomatoes. I would go shrimping and fishing with my uncles and my dad, and that fresh quality seafood and local fresh produce is really the foundation of where my career started. So today we're gonna be looking at some of those great ingredients that we use in the South, and some that you might not know about. We're gonna be featuring these beautiful Sapelo Island clams. We're gonna pair them up with some red peas from the same area. We're gonna make a ubiquitous American dish, the tomato sandwich, but we're gonna take it upscale, add a little bit of basil aioli from scratch, and then we're gonna finish off the whole thing with a great dessert, my grandmother's favorite, peach cobbler, but we're gonna kind of flip it upside down and innovate how we put it together. So I look forward to talking to you for the next 25 minutes and teaching you a few things about my Southern cooking. All right, so the tomato sandwich, the simple everyday sandwich. We're gonna take it a little bit upscale. Traditionally, you got white bread, you got sliced tomatoes, you got some mayo. Like I said, maybe if you're getting crazy, some Lowry seasoning salt. So we're gonna throw that out the window. We're gonna make a basil aioli from scratch. Now, I gotta warn you, once you make this, you're gonna make it all the time, and you're gonna come up with things to put it on because it is absolutely delicious. All right? So, you got your food processor at home. You can also do this with a stick blender. You can also do this by hand. So you got options, all right? We're gonna start first with ginger and garlic, okay? And then we're gonna add our egg yolks. So we're gonna pulse this a couple of times just to bring those ingredients together, okay? Okay, so we have our egg yolks, ginger, garlic in here. We got that mixed together. Now we're gonna add our basil. If our food processor doesn't keep arguing with us, so no big deal. We want to spread it out a little bit. We just want to pulse this a couple of times so that it chops it up a little bit, and then we're going to go in with our emulsification. All right, so we're going to slowly drizzle our olive oil at a rate that is gonna thicken the egg yolk, all right? So we're emulsifying a fat into a fat, all right? So we have an oil here that we're emulsifying into egg yolk. So we gotta do it nice and slow. As you can see, if you do this by hand, it's a good workout. So, you know, sometimes cooking can be a great workout. Get your body moving. The lazy approach right now and letting the machine do the work for us. Beautiful. All right, now we're gonna take a look at that. Up a little bit more. Probably just need a little bit more there. And 1, 2. Okay, so I'm just making sure that all that oil is incorporated. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. All right, beautiful. So now, the only thing we got to do is taste it to see if we need to add a little bit of lemon juice. All right. So, quick taste. Yep. Oh man, that's so good. So the basil and the ginger and the garlic really come together nicely. Okay. So a little lemon juice, a little bit more salt, and this is ready for an amazing tomato sandwich, which we're going to put together when we get back in just a minute. All right, so we're gonna bring this beautiful little sandwich together. As I said, quality is everything. We made an amazing basil aioli. We've got some really great sourdough bread here. We have some beautiful heirloom tomatoes. And we're gonna just put it together really easily. We're gonna do something fun and cut the bread to be the same shape as our tomato, okay? And again, we're just trying to raise up the level a little bit. We're not gonna waste that bread. We're gonna use it for bread pudding later. So we'll set that aside, and later on we'll be able to use it. So here we go. We have our bread there. A smear. Now you can go heavy. Like I said, this basil aioli is you're gonna make it all the time. You're gonna find reasons to make it. You're gonna catch someone in the refrigerator eating the last year basil aioli, and you're gonna be mad about it. So slather it on nice and thick, and then let's see. We'll do this nice yellow tomato. I love yellow tomatoes because they're a lower acid. Beautiful tomato. I want to cut it nice and thick. I like the tomato to kind of run down my chin after I bite into it. So a couple of nice thick slices, salt, of course, and then we're going to use a little bit of Montreal steak seasoning. Now this one is one that we make in-house. One of my chefs, Mr. Scott Johnson, makes this for us. But you can use a store-bought Montreal steak seasoning. I love the coriander and the peppercorn and everything together with the tomatoes. It's gonna be amazing. So there we go. A little tomato there. Top it off, and look at that. That looks like an amazing tomato sandwich. Not too much bread, a whole lot of tomato. I'm gonna put that on there. And so to finish our salad, we're gonna keep it real simple and just make a little bit. This is red oak lettuce, okay? I'm just gonna break that up a little bit. A little bit of salt, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of oil. Toss, toss, toss. Again, when you have awesome ingredients, it doesn't have to be complicated. So there we are, a little heirloom tomato sandwich with side salad, oil and vinegar. Next, we're gonna come back and we're gonna hop right into those clams and Sea Island red peas. So come back right with us. All right, so we're gonna make the Thai basil bacon broth. All right, so the first thing we wanna do is char our onions. Now we want to get a nice color on them, so I want to preheat my pan so that whenever I put them in there it sizzles. All right, so you read sweat versus saute in recipes all the time. Sweat means low heat, slow cooking, no color added. Saute means high heat, it means to jump in French, right? So we want high heat, we want it sizzle. If your pan's not talking when you put the product in, you're not sauteing. So we want to get it nice and warm. We're almost there, but we don't want it smoking. So a little bit of oil, and that's what we want. We want that nice sizzle, all right? So we start with our onions, all right? And then while that's cooking, you need to get a little hit of salt. Anytime you start with onions, start with your aromatics, you want to get some salt in there to start bringing those flavors together. Always season as you cook. Never wait until the end to finish things with salt. That's the way you over-season things, and it's the least healthy way to cook. So, a little bit of salt and onions going. Our next ingredients are going to be ginger and garlic, and then we have some chili peppers. Now, here's where you can kind of vary this dish, the heat of the dish. So if you want really hot, use Thai chilies. These are serranos, so they're medium heat. If you want it milder, take the seed and the pith out. If you want it spicier, go with a hot chili and leave the seed in. The seed and the pith are gonna provide a lot of heat. And then last, we're gonna throw in, this is Thai basil stems. So one of the things that we try to do in our kitchen is look at all of these things and use them for, what can we use that for? So we'll make basil syrup out of basil stems and apple cider. We'll reduce that down and we got a great, a great product. This time we're gonna use the Thai basil stems in our broth to impart that flavor as we cook it down. One of the important things about caramelizing or charring onions or any other product is you don't want to fiddle with it too much, all right? Leave it alone, let the pan do its job, let the heat do its job. Let it cook, all right? So we've been letting it sear and get like a nice char on it. So we've got some good color here. And we're about ready to start adding other ingredients. So I'm gonna grab our bacon, which is a crucial element for the Thai basil and bacon broth. We've got some ginger, sliced. And then we have some sliced garlic and our chilies. So I'm just gonna put in a couple of halves of these guys, because that'll be plenty of heat. Now I'm gonna give that a stir and actually use some of that bacon fat to kind of deglaze and start the process of getting that fond off the bottom of the pot. Oh man, that smells amazing. So the bacon coming together with the ginger and the garlic and the chilies. Oh man, it smells amazing. So now we have our Thai basil that we wrapped up nice. We're gonna toss that in here. We don't wanna cook the ginger and the garlic and the chilies terribly long. We just wanna get them kind of started. And then we're gonna use sherry to deglaze our pot. Now we're gonna use sherry a couple of times throughout this meal for the clams and the red peas. So that we have those layers of flavor built in together. But it's a very common fortified wine to be used in Southern cooking with seafood, like she crab soup, sherry and crab. So I love sherry. It's dry, it's not too sweet. So we're gonna add that in there. A couple of glugs. And then we're gonna deglaze the bottom of the pot. When you build up that caramelization on the bottom of your pot, that is called the fond. And that is a huge flavor step, all right? So whenever you build that up on the bottom of your pot, you wanna make sure that you use some kind of liquid to pull that fond off the bottom of the pot, or else you're gonna be leaving a lot of flavor in your pot, all right? So we wanna make sure that we get that off of there by rubbing it. Whew, that was fun. A little garlic escape there. By rubbing it with your wooden spoon. I like to cook with wooden spoons for stuff like this for that very reason. So now we've got our chicken stock. We're using a store-bought chicken stock just so that it's what you can use at home too. You know, I wanna teach y'all a dish that you can make right in your own house. So this is a store-bought chicken stock. Nothing wrong with that. Of course, in our kitchen, we make all of our stocks from scratch. And we have, you know, giant pots of stock going a lot of times. So, but for you, buy a good quality, you know, organic or whatever works for you as far as your chicken broth. I do not recommend using the chicken base or the chicken bouillons for this kind of application, but they can be useful for other things. All right, so now we've got all of our flavors in there. We've got it all brought together. We're just gonna bring this up to a simmer and then let it cook for a while. So we'll be right back with you in just one moment. All right, so next we're gonna start working on our peas. All right, so today we are featuring beautiful Sea Island red peas from Anson Mills. Anson Mills is an amazing mill in the Carolinas that is dedicated to saving heirloom grains and rices. He's been going in the Carolinas raising these heritage and heirloom grains that could go extinct if he wasn't so dedicated to what he does. So we're really proud to show off Sea Island red peas, and we'll talk a little bit more about Sea Island when we get to the clams. So we're gonna season these red peas with onions and garlic, and then a really special bacon. This bacon comes from Comfort Farms, which is in Milledgeville, Georgia. And we'll talk a little bit more about Comfort Farms here shortly. But it is a very special place, a special farm with some amazing pork down there in Georgia. All right, so we'll start with a little bit of olive oil. And we're sweating this time, so we're not sauteing. So I'm not worried about getting it too hot. We got our onions in there, and we got our garlic, all right? But we definitely need some salt. Okay, remember our salt's our friend, so we want to get it going as soon as we can, whenever we are cooking. I'm gonna crank that up just a little bit. We're gonna sweat this down, which just means to get a little soft and translucent. And then we're gonna start adding our peas, adding our bacon purse here, some sherry, and some more chicken stock, and we'll have this cooking in no time. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. Our onions are nice and soft, looking a little translucent. You know, we're gonna get our Sea Island peas in there. Beautiful red peas. Pour those in there. And then we took our Comfort Farms bacon and we wrapped it up with some thyme and some bay leaves, and then tied it up with a little butcher's twine. So we made like a bouquet garni. We made a bacon garni. So that's gonna be our seasoning for our Sea Island peas. Slide that in there, and then, oh, sorry, about to skip the sherry. Gotta hit it with some sherry. There we go. A little bit of sherry. And now we can go in with our chicken stock. All right. So, main thing about this is we don't want to overcook our peas. We want them to get all this nice flavor in there. So I'm going to bring it up to a simmer. So now it's time to bring these clams together. Like I was saying earlier, these are Sapelo Island clams. They were first grown on Sapelo Island in 1977. It was an aquaculture program built by the University of Georgia Extension. And so what we want to do, we soak these overnight in water to purge all of the sand and silt and whatever is left inside the clams. We wanted to get that out. So we've got a pan getting hot here, and then we have our broth and our Sea Island red peas over here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and strain our broth. So in order to do that, I've just got a very, simple strainer in another pot. All right, so I'm just gonna pour this through that strainer. Very easy. And we're gonna strain out all the onions and garlic and all that stuff. We just wanted that for a nice, rich flavor, right? So I'm gonna get that in there and just get this out of our way. Now we can really focus on the clams. And so our pan is nice and hot. We're gonna dry roast the clams first, okay? So we're gonna put them just straight in the pan by themselves. We're gonna let them cook for 2 minutes. Okay, we want a good dry heat on them first. So I got 4 or 5. And that'll be enough for a nice serving. All right. So got our clams in there, and we're gonna throw a lid on that. All right. So I'm doing this in a cast iron skillet. You can do it in a heavy bottom pot. You want something that can hold the heat, because you want to be able to get a good heat into it. All right. It's gonna take forever to cook the clams, and they're gonna end up chewy if you don't cook them fast enough. All right. So we have our sherry here that we will use to steam open the clams when it's time. All right. So while we're waiting on that, let's talk a little bit more about these Sea Island red peas and Comfort Farms bacon. All right. So the Sea Island red peas are passed down through the Geechee and the Gullah that live on sea islands, and specifically Sapelo Island. They live on Defusky Island, so Tybee Island, where I'm from, is one of the sea islands. And so the Gullah and the Geechee people have added this richness and this depth to our community as long as we've been around. Smells great. I'm gonna hit it with some sherry. Again, a little bit of sherry. And then we're gonna go in with our Thai basil and bacon broth. All right, wow, that smells incredible. Again, I'm gonna throw a lid on it. We want it to steam up. We want those clams to pop open and put their liquor into the pot as well. So we'll get these out of our way, and we'll start to look at our dish. So, got another beautiful dish for serving our clams here. Be ready when they start to pop open. So the bacon that we seasoned our peas with came from Milledgeville, Georgia, a place called Comfort Farms. John Jackson is a U.S. military ranger who started this farm as a way to remediate his PTSD. And now he uses it as a agricultural center where he can bring other U.S. military vets and show them how to do small-scale agriculture, homesteading, and relieve themselves of some of the silent wounds of war. So it's a very special place. And he's got a nonprofit called Stag Vets that really has made a huge difference in many veterans' lives. So check out Comfort Farms in Millersville, Georgia, and Stag Vets, and give our veterans some support. They really do an amazing job there on the farm. So we're gonna go ahead and start to plate up our peas here. Big ladle of peas right there. That looks great. So I have my glasses, as you can see, steamed up nicely. So we're gonna start to put those clams right into that beautiful pot. Man, they look good. Now, as your clams open, like I said, you don't want rubbery clams. So as they open, go ahead and get them out of the pot, you know, and then you'll see the other ones start to open. We're gonna take some of that beautiful pot liquor and we're gonna pour that over the top of our clams to finish off and really season the rest of our dish. And then we'll set this aside. Some crispy bacon and freshly torn Thai basil. Basil is one of those delicate herbs, Thai basil or regular basil. I love to just kind of tear it at the end of a dish. It doesn't have to be chopped up fine. If you chop it up too much, you're gonna bruise it, you're gonna make it kind of bitter. So we just tear it right into whatever we're finishing. Here we have it. Sea Island clams and peas with Comfort Farms bacon and Thai basil. All right, so now we're gonna talk some sweets. So my grandmother made a peach cobbler that would blow your mind, and so whenever it came time, I'm not a pastry chef, so I do things that I'm familiar with and that I know that I can accomplish, but I also like to kind of push the envelope too. So we're gonna take a fresh look at the peach cobbler. We're gonna start by making a biscuit, but we're gonna fold pralines into our biscuit. So the peach cobbler, or cobblers in general, came over to Americas with the colonists, with the British, right? So that reminded them of a dish they would have back in England. They cobbled together the ingredients of some fruit and like a biscuit topping into probably a cast iron skillet or some kind of Dutch oven, and they cooked it over a hearth, all right? So how we're gonna re-engineer that is we're gonna sear the peaches to kind of add that hearth flavor, that depth of flavor. We're gonna season our peaches with a little cayenne pepper just to give it a little zip. Then we're gonna simmer the peaches in a saffron syrup and serve it with these praline biscuits, and it's gonna blow your mind. All right, so let's get this started. So biscuits, you know, biscuit technique, you wanna mix all of your dry ingredients together first, okay? And then we're gonna cut the butter into this, all right? So this is very important. To make proper biscuits, you have to have your butter and your buttermilk separate, all right? So we have buttermilk here, and we have our butter here, and then we're just gonna use our hands and cut that butter into that flour. The key to good biscuits is doing this process right. We have to cut the butter in to make those layers. So I like to do it by hand. You could do it with a fork. You can do it, you know, there's different techniques. I enjoy doing it by hand because I think it gives the best texture of the biscuit. And probably because that's the way my grandmother did it. But, so we'll keep cutting this in. We want it to get like a coarse crumb texture. So all I'm doing is literally smashing the flour and the butter together with my fingers like that. And we're getting the kind of the texture that we want, where it's starting to look a little bit coarse, and we can see the butter's been mixed thoroughly. Give it another stir there. We're in pretty good shape. Once we start to add liquid to this is when it gets tricky, all right? Because once you add liquid to flour, that's when gluten development starts. The last thing we want in our biscuits is a lot of gluten development, all right? That's what you want in pasta. That's why you beat pasta and knead it, and you know, you want that chew. In biscuits, we want light, fluffy, you know, we want a nice airy texture to the biscuit, and that means we want to limit the amount of gluten that we develop, all right? Now we're gonna mix in our pralines, and we're gonna just make sure that they're thoroughly incorporated, okay? And then it's, last but not least, we're gonna go with the buttermilk. Again, once we add this buttermilk, we have to be delicate with our dough. So again, that's why mixing by hand really helps, because we're not running the risk. If we did this in a machine or anything like that, we would run the risk of overworking our dough and really tough biscuits. And man, there are few things that will make a Southern cook more angry than a tough biscuit. All right, so as you see, like, this doesn't even look like it's come together that much, but I'm almost done mixing it, because if I just patted it down, it would come together. And that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna turn this out onto our surface here. And we're just gonna kind of bring it together. And then we wanna roll it out. That's still a little sticky, so no big deal. I'm gonna grab a little bit of flour and we'll fix that right up. All right. So a little bit of extra flour, a little flour on my rolling pin, and then, again, we just wanna treat this real gingerly. And we just want them to hold together. That's our only goal. Okay, so that looks good. I want them to be a little flat because, again, I don't want them to overwhelm the peach. So we want a thinner biscuit, not a big tall biscuit. So we'll roll that out. And then I've got a cutter that's about the same size as our peach. That way our biscuit and our peach has a nice, ratio to it. I'm just gonna cut some biscuits. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's all we need for right now. I'm gonna get this into the oven at 350 degrees. They're gonna cook for about 12 or 15 minutes, and then we'll get the peaches going when we come right back. So for the peaches, I decided to kind of look at the way we were cooking the peaches differently and sear them to get some color on them, to add some depth of flavor, and then poach them with one of my favorite spices, which is saffron. Okay, so I'm gonna get a quick simple syrup going. So simple syrup is simple because it's 1:1 to 1 cup of water to 1 cup of sugar. That's a simple syrup. So getting our water in there first, and then some sugar. Just gonna give that a stir. And we're gonna add our saffron. Now, the saffron adds this element of surprise. So you won't really, it's not gonna stand out and kind of overwhelm the dish, but it's gonna add this layer underneath that will make the peaches taste more like a peach, and they'll make all of these flavors really pop. So, saffron simple syrup working right there, and then we're going to work on our peaches. Now we're going to season our peaches with a little salt just to make them taste sweeter, and a little bit of cayenne pepper to add an edge to our dish. So the first thing we want to do is cut our peaches in half. And so what's important when you buy your peaches is that they're not too ripe, but they're not too unripe, right? So you want them right in the middle, so that when you cook them, they don't just fall apart and turn to mush or have a mealy texture. If you get too ripe of peaches and then you cook them, they'll have a mealy texture. It'll be off-putting. But if you get the right, right in the middle, then you're gonna have to kind of work to get it to open, but that's all right. We use our paring knife and we remove any of that part. And then we take and we remove the seed from this side. Okay? And then so we have our peaches ready there. Like I said, just a little bit of salt, a little bit of cayenne pepper, and then we're gonna go right into the pan. So here's a little bit of oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan, okay? This cast iron skillet's well seasoned, okay? You wanna get it in there. And then we'll do a couple more. So now we have our peaches searing and our saffron syrup reducing. So we're gonna come back right here in just a minute and bring this whole peach and saffron syrup together. All right, so our peaches are coming along nicely. I'm gonna give them a flip. Oh man, look at that, beautiful color. So we want that nice caramelization on those peaches. So that's gonna bring in the kind of smokiness that we would get from cooking them over a hearth. And then I'm gonna take this beautiful saffron syrup we've made in this other skillet. Oh man, look at that. That smells incredible. All right, so now we're gonna let this cook for a few more minutes. I'm gonna pull the biscuits out of the oven and we're gonna bring this whole thing together in just 1 second. Now it's time to bring this beautiful recomposed cobbler together. So traditionally, the peach goes in and then the biscuit topping goes on top. So we're gonna flip that upside down. We're gonna put the biscuit down first and then kind of smash it there. And then we're gonna put our beautiful peach right on top. And then we're gonna have some of this amazing saffron syrup. Look at that. That looks incredible. Look how nice and thick and that bright yellow and the saffron. That is a beautiful little saffron syrup. And then last but not least, what else you need? A little cream. You could do ice cream if you wanted to. But a little whipped cream. And there you go. Saffron grilled peach and praline cobbler. Enjoy. We'll be right back. Well, that's it. Tomato sandwiches, clams with bacon, Thai basil broth, and Sea Island red peas. A new version of peach cobbler. I appreciate you spending a little time with me, Chef Robert Wood, and learning a little bit about my background. If you're in the market for high quality catering, whether you're a professional athlete or you need a wedding cater, give us a call and we'll make it happen.